Yeah, so the Chovos of Avos is in Shayicha Maisa Perikate. He's going through the various methods, strategies of the Yatzer. How does the Yatzer have, how is he so successful in getting us, to sort of falter and to give in to areas that obviously we shouldn't be doing? And he stressed the idea that the main power of the Yatzer is to sow doubt. He tries to sow seeds of doubt into various different intellectual and philosophical positions that we should hold true and clear. And sometimes if we're not really strong in those areas, he can start, creating problems for us. And we have to beat him on every level. And what he's shown to us so far in the previous two times that we learned is that when we win, he'll have to retreat and go to another level. So he'll start on fundamental goals, and then he'll keep changing, the battlefield based on where this person is and how much strength that person has. So we ended with Dugma Hey, and we're ready to start Dugma Vav, and basically in Dugma Hey he's talking about the fact that the Yatzer is very good at creating doubt about, do I really have to do certain things? Is the Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy really accurate? How do I really know? A lot of these questions, which again, kids, sometimes many adults as well, but certainly kids, going through their questioning stages of adolescence, deal with some of these issues. And again, it's very, very important that we have the answers. It's important that we have the answers for ourselves. Sometimes we take it for granted, and then we get pushed a little bit, and then we realize we're not as clear as we think we are, which is why when I hear about certain schools that don't allow speakers to come in to discuss fundamentals with their students because, we don't need that around here, I think it's a grave mistake. I think it's just totally foolish, because we all need chizuk in these foundational principles. And the idea that we don't need it in today's world, that teenagers don't need Rabbi Mechanic or Arachim or Discovery to come in and to give lectures, because these are basic points. I think, like I said, is a mistake. But now we're up to Dugma Vav. We're up to now the sixth line of attack, of where you've already gotten the 5 first principles down, and you withstood the onslaught of the Yatzer, but now the Yatzer is a new playing field, a new battleground. The Kashis Yoish Hayetzim Lufatos Yoscha B'derech Zeh. Page Chav Gimel. When the Yatzer has given up hope and trying to lure you into this approach of questioning Moshe Rabbeinu and the Nevi'im, his next goal will be, let me put some doubt into this whole oral law thing. And if you Google shurim about oral law, you'll find many shurim out there proving the validity and the necessity of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Because a lot of people would say, hey, if we just had Torah Sheba'al, the written law, things would be, pretty good. The rabbis came along with all this Gemara stuff, and they had all these drushes, and they made things so complicated. Who needs all the complications? We should have kept things simple. And then or various variations of that type of question. And that's a dangerous question, because when you start believing in that, you'll find that most of the things that we do relate directly and specifically to Torah Sheba'al Peh. You knock out Torah Sheba'al Peh, you've knocked out pretty much Kol HaTorah Kula, essentially. So clearly, we can't fall into this trap. So says the Chovos of Avos, the Yetzer will tell you like this: it's true, I grant you, that the mitzvahs which the intellect obligates us, and even those that are decrees from God don't make much sense necessarily, but they're decrees in the Torah that we must do. I get those. I understand. I'm ready to accept Torah Sheba'al. I believe that there was a Maimon Har Sinai in the year 2448. But what the rabbis laid over all these other things with these rules and regulations, that's not so important. We don't have an obligation to really follow those. That's already rabbinic stuff that doesn't have the same level of of importance. When you start thinking intellectually and asking yourself honestly, you will see whether it be logical commandments or illogical decrees of God. So kukos mi ol Torah shel peh. They absolutely require Torah shel peh. You can't really move almost anywhere in Torah without Torah shel peh. Without Torah shel peh, you pretty much can't find one mitzvah that you can do properly. Okay, think about it. What mitzvah can you do properly without Torah shel peh? The one that maybe comes to mind might be, Kibbut Aveim, but even there, Kibbut Aveim has its guidelines and rules and regulations. If we didn't have the Torah shel peh to delineate for us and to create the guidelines of the kamus, the how much, the echus, the substance, the quality of the way you do it, as azman v'smakom, the time and the place of when do these things apply. There's Yatzer pratim shel mitzvah sichlios. Okay, and the other details of logical commandments that are clearly, well, they're logical in their essence, but how far do they go? When do they apply? What's the amount? How much money? How little? How often? There's so many questions that come up. Without Torah shel peh, we'd be lost. There's no way we'd come to understand what it is. I mean, even things that the Torah says. The Torah says shecht an animal. What is shechita? What is shechita? Well, you hit it over there with a hammer. I mean, do you give it some poison and you kill it that way? I mean, how would you know that it's slaughtering and cutting the windpipe and the food pipe? How would you know that? You know that through Torah shel peh. There's no other way of knowing it. V'chein mitzvos really anywhere. Tefillin. What a tefillin? What is that? Okay, it doesn't tell you square boxes. It doesn't say anywhere about what the mitzvah is, except that you have to wear some frontlets between your eyes, okay, and you tie some type of knot on your arm. But what is that? What do you tie? So again, there's very little movement anywhere that you can go without almost begging for Torah shel peh to explain to you how that mitzvah works. So too the mitzvahs which are decrees from God. We don't understand intellectually, any logic as to why God commanded us to do these things. Had it not been for the Torah shel peh that explains to us how to read the psukim, how to explain the language, how to clarify the substance of the mitzvah, and what laws can be learned out from them. His bonus with Sefer Torah Bavad. You can look at the Sefer Torah all day and never see what you need to see that our Chazal did see because of the rules that they had in interpreting the Torah and the Masorah that they had directly from Moshe Rabbeinu. Kamosh Amru Chachamenu Zal, as we say every morning, right before we stop Sukkot Zimra, we say Rabbi Shmuel Loimer, okay, and that whole paragraph, okay, if you have time to say it, most of us, just start with Sukkot Zimra after Brachos, but if you read Rabbi Shmuel, that's the Yud Gimel Midos, Shat Torah Nidreshes, but there are 13 principles and methods by which the Torah gets interpreted. B'shosh Esrei Midos HaTorah Nidreshes, V'od Omru Misaris Yog LaTorah. And furthermore, it says that it is a foundational principle that we have handed down, that we have to make fences for the Torah, which is a whole other element, which is even further than the Torah shel peh. The rabbis were mandated to create laws that protect the actual mitzvah, like yichud, things like that. Muksa, those are actually rabbinic laws that protect the actual Torah law. Then you have the Torah shel peh that also even more fundamentally explain the mitzvos. So the Yatzer is going to try to get in, this Torah shel peh, the rabbis made it so complicated, but if you are intellectually honest, he says, you will see it's one and the same. It's very interesting. We just recently we said Nasa v'Nishma in the Chumash, in Mishpatim we said Nasa v'Nishma. So they asked a famous question that if we said Nasa v'Nishma, why did God have to take a mountain and put it over our heads and say to us, if you accept the Torah, fine. If not, Sham take v'raschem. There will be your grave, which, simply it means right there. Where you are is going to be a burial spot because you have to accept the Torah. And all the commentaries ask, why did God have to do that? We already said, Na'aseh v'nishma. So, I think Tosas gives the answer right on the page in Gemara and Shabbos. There are many answers to this question, but one of the answers that Tosas gives is they only said Na'aseh v'nishma for Torah shebiksav. Their commitment was to what's written down, but they never said Na'aseh v'nishma in Torah shebal peh. And God had to say with the mountain over their heads, guys, no. You got to take the whole package. Halfway deal is not going to work. So you see already from that Tosas answer that there was almost an inborn resistance to this Torah Shebal Peh concept. But clearly, as he says in step 6, in this 6th level of attack with the Yatzer, that indeed there's no logic to that argument. Okay, he's not done. The bottom paragraph. And another proof on the literal, the absolute integral aspect of Torah Shebal Peh, Torah Atzma Mafna Asanu Torah Shebal Peh, Shebal Feinu Din Chodosh Sheinu Mefurish B'Torah. Right, the Torah itself illuminates the point of Torah Shebal Peh when there's an issue about a new law that we don't know exactly what to do. Eliyesh L'Moros Menu. There isn't this. It's not an explicit law, but it's a new law that we have to learn out from the Torah what to do in this new case. And we have rules. We have a Sanhedrin. We have to go to the rabbis, and the Torah talks about it. As the Torah says, if you have a situation of judgment or something to do with the law, and you're not sure what to do. And you bring it to the Kohanim, to the priest, or to the Levim, or to the judge that lived in those days. And they tell you, after analyzing what it is, what kind of thing would this be? It's got to be Torah Shebal Peh. It's something that's not very obvious. It's not like staring you in the face, because if it was a Ferish Apostle, there would not be any need for all this consultation. So clearly there was an issue. The rabbis discussed it and deliberated on it. Then they issued their answer. This is what you need to do. And the Torah says, you better do it. You better follow what the rabbis say. And in this very area where you go to the rabbis, they told you what to do, and let's say you didn't do it, what's the punishment of a person who rebels and rejects the psak of the Sanhedrin? It's Misa. So it's actually a more severe punishment for this which was unknown, which you needed the rabbis to illuminate, than that which was known, which in Torah, again, there are cases, obviously, where you chayv Misa, but so many cases that you're not. And yet, but when it comes to a question of the rabbis, that you ask them, you must follow, and if you don't follow, there's a death penalty attached to whatever it might be. If there is a man who intentionally refuses to listen to the Kohen who stands in service at that particular time, or to the judge who is judging the situation, that person must be put to death. So says the Chosam, as you see intrinsically in the way the pasuk talks about this case, that the Torah Shebal Peh is actually on a higher level, because the Torah Shebal Peh, if you don't listen to the rabbis, you get a death penalty, where in many cases the Torah Shebiksav you wouldn't. When you analyze all this, Yatzer Safek Zeh Milibcha, this doubt about Torah Shebal Peh will leave your mind. And it'll be clear to you even from the logical mitzvahs, so to the mitzvahs which are God having decreed them clearly for us to do in the Torah. And thirdly, the third leg of these three types of commandments, the logical ones, the illogical ones, and the interpreted ones of the rabbis, kulan emes. They're all true. And they're all necessary for a person to be called in Eved Hashem. V'nevet Hashem, you don't do Torah Shel Peh? No, you're not B'Koros if you don't do Torah Shel Peh. So it's fundamental to Jewish thought and to an understanding of who we are as Jews that you need Torah Shel Peh. So argument number 6 gets, basically put on the side and pushed to the side and gets rebuffed completely. So now, based on the pattern, the Yatzer is not going to move to a new position. The Yatzer is going to now come to a new level of argument. So let's now go to Dugma 7.
Sorry, I still remember. I can't find it.
Oh, Chav Daled, you have different pages?
I'm not sure.
Chav Daled. Yeah, this is not.
We had a few different sets, like even though it was the same size, it still was different pages.
Second.
Before I left, I was in like Yud Tet.
Is this the same as in about here?
Yeah, one second.
This one.
V'kashi Yisyayish, yeah, let's do it.
So here, take this one.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll find it later in this one. Okay.
Is that yours, Judy? Yeah. That one's Judy's, that she owns.
Right, okay. So at the 7th argument, once the Yatzer said, okay, I can't get this person. Too strong, went to too many discovery seminars. I'm not going to be able to put a dent in this person on this level. Let me try to get to the next level. What can I use now to try to bring this person to some level of doubt?
This is smaller print, so there's more on a page than what you have. So she's right here. V'kasha Yisyesh.
But that's Chiddush Olam. So that's we're up to Dugma Zion. Okay. So he says. So then, what's the next step? What's the Yatzer going to try to do now? Okay, so let's get to the next. Okay, so I got to do all this stuff. Fine, but what happens if I don't? What you can do to me? What, reward and punishment? Who says? Who says anything about reward and punishment? How do you know there's such a thing? Things are random, and good people end up, in bad places. Bad people end up in good places, and it's all one big mishmash. So I'm not buying into schar v'yonish. V'ishtadil fatas ha'schola til savib b'schar v'yonish. Tchilu yifatos cholafakfek b'schar v'yonish olam hazeh. First, the first line of attack is schar v'yonish in this world, and that's where it's the easiest to make the argumentation. The Yatzer tells you, if there was true justice in this world, and how many times have we heard this? Maybe, God forbid, we even said it along the way more than once. But we certainly have heard it from people. If there was true justice in this world, and that low-life sleazeball, he's rolling around on cloud, he's on easy street and everything is great. I can't believe it. The guy is the worst guy I've ever met. And look how all his good luck is going great for him. And, look at me, or look at somebody else and what's going on. So, why is there good things happening to bad people and bad things happening to good people? And this is exactly, if you go back to the 3rd parak in Bitachon, we dealt with this issue and how we just don't know, and that there's so many other factors and calculations that God has in adjudicating life to all people. That just simply, there's no way we can possibly figure out who deserves what. So I dealt with that, and earlier says the Chavos. When your intellect uncovers and reveals to you those points that we made back in the 3rd parak of Shar B'Tachon, why indeed there are times when there's good to the Rosh and there's bad to the Tzaddik. That from there you can understand even that which is happening is righteous. We just don't fully understand it. But in that reward that Rosh is getting, there's justice there. In that punishment that the good person is getting, there's justice there. And it can be so many other calculations that completely are beyond us. but we understand that we can't grasp it, then this doubt, will leave you. And you will have menucha from the bilbul hamayach. What a wonderful expression. Bilbul hamayach. It's, my brains are just totally mixed up. I'm completely confused, and that happens to us. And when that happens, we know one thing. That the Yatzer Tov has been working overtime. The Yatzer has been working overtime, and we fell into the trap where we let thoughts and questions and things just get in the way, and we just haven't been strong enough to put these ridiculous thoughts out of our minds and to go back to the fundamentals of belief and of Jewish philosophy and Jewish faith that clearly deals with this stuff and puts it away without any question. Okay, so if you're able to do that, you will be able to have menuchas and nefesh, because otherwise it will cause you a lot of confusion, and that's really a bad place to be. And again, how many times have you heard this from people? Rabbi, I'm confused. And when you hear that, it's like, I'm not saying there's no way out, but it's complicated. When a person's confused and there's no clarity, and there's, again, it can happen, but that's not a good place for us to be. So that's number 7. Questions Chavi Onish in this world. Okay, now we go to 8. The when the Yatzer is given up because you've gone back to Shabbat and Paragibel, and you learned it again, and you reinforce those principles, and you therefore know any questions we have on God in this world are ridiculous. Who are we to ask questions on God's unfolding of His plan in this world? But this doesn't mean that the Yatzer doesn't have room to maneuver. The next step is, what about the next world? What's the next world? And again, these are things we've heard over the years. It's not me, it's my neshama. I don't even know what my neshama is. My body's going to be 6 feet under. And that's who I am. And what do I care what happens to my neshama? And all these types of, and who says it's going to be bad? Where's the good? Where's the bad? Where's the punishment? Where's the reward? Again, the same word again, bilbul. Okay, he will try to mix up your brains to put a dent and a question mark into this issue of Schavi Onish in the next world. Which is incidentally, and we went through this too, Baruch Hashem, he's covered a lot of ground over the majority part of the Sefer, but he says, and it's interesting that it's very little that's discussed about Olam Haba. Right? You can learn a lot of Chumash and never read a pasuk about Olam Haba. So it isn't like there's a lot written in the Torah that refutes Olam Haba. Or refutes the notion that there is no Olam Haba. Even that which is written and is mentioned is not mentioned explicitly. It's mentioned very incidentally and through a hint. So there's room for the Yatzer to get in and say, who says? How do I know? I don't know that's really the way it is. The Torah doesn't mention anything about Olam Haba and Gan Eden and what happens in the future. But if you do look into the words of the Nevi'im, of what they say regarding reward and punishment of the next world, for example, I'm just going to go through a number of psukim. The spirit returns to God, that gave it. I'll give you a path amongst the angels who stand here. Look at the good that awaits to those who fear you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu hid away special reward for those who are fearful of Hashem. Okay, clearly all of these references seem to be, what else, but to the next world. That reward no eye ever saw except you, God, only you saw that reward. That your righteousness goes in front of you. The glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu will gather you in. Again, talking about some spiritual connection between us and God. And many other similar psukim that clearly allude to the notion that there is reward and there's punishment in the next world. And that reward, of course, is that connection that we have to the closest to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And also you have to look and analyze that which the rabbi spoke about as well. And plus that which intellectually, it doesn't make any sense not to believe in Schar V'Onesh in the next world. Because that takes all of, if you throw away Schar V'Onesh in the next world and brings back all of the randomness of this world, that means things don't even out. Because clearly we do see that there are way too many questions that we have about what purely happens in this world that can only be answered by the recognition that there's the next world, that's where ultimately everything equals out. You take away that equation, this world really has, and that's what the Mr. Shalom says as well. There's just too many question marks, and the one answer to all those questions is that God has a plan, and that plan is actualized, in the eternal world. In the next world, as the Mesilas Yesharim says, this world is a prosdar, it's an entryway into the next. So if you look at the psukim, and you look at the sources, and you analyze with intellect, Az tielecha menucha gam bilbul rosh zeh shel Yatzer. You will then again be able to attain a calmness, a serenity. You will have clarity. There is Schar V'Onesh in this world. There is Schar V'Onesh in the next world, and that's just a fact. You'll be convinced with absolute certainty that indeed there is Schar V'Onesh in the next world as well. Okay? So 8 down, 2 to go. So 2 more lines of attack that the Yatzer is going to try for. Let's keep going. The Kashan is Yoesh Hayetzim Lufatois. When the Yatzer Hara has given up from trying to get us to fall into any of the traps of the previous 8 categories, category 9, laziness. Okay, it's cold outside and it's warm outside, and I got a lot of things to do, and I'll do it next week, and all the excuses that we either give on our own or we hear from other people around us, okay, that drive us crazy. Okay, that is the next line of attack. Atzlus, being lazy. Ulahasik oscha tamid, and to get us completely focused in this world. So not lazy, period, but fakert. The Yatzer is very, very happy if we are unbelievably focused and driven for matters of irrelevancy in this world. That's going to make the Yatzer very happy, right? So we're chugging along and we're focused, on stuff that the Yatzer knows is irrelevant for us. He will encourage us to continue that way. When it comes to going to minyan, when it comes to learning Torah, when it comes to doing mitzvahs, that's where the Yatzer says, take it easy. Let's relax a little bit. So what he wants us to do and what he's going to do, he will get us to be involved in matters of this world. Ba'achila, shtia, halbasha, nesius, ubanos, gashmir, shonos, eating and drinking and what we wear, where we go, vacation times, every day now. Once again, 11 days, and free cruise, and that's what they just keep calling. They just they don't give up. They just want our vacation. I mean, it's nice to take a vacation, but clearly, a lot of people, that's almost what they're living for, and just in general, just various different pleasures that are out there for people to indulge in. Okay, and when this. When the Yatzer is successful, getting us to be focused on this stuff, and to listen to the Yatzer, you got to make sure there's food, you got to work more, 10-hour days, 12-hour days, 14-hour days, never a chance to do anything. I'm just too busy, making my money that I need to put food on the table. I can't do without it. That's like the introductory plan of the Yatzer. The Yatzer is very smart. So if I can get this person really focused on the paycheck and the money and the things that are physical, then I can start moving into the nicer car, the nicer home, the things that really we want extra, that's really going to spice up our lives and yet get us completely sidetracked from our mission at hand. They're secondary to the food that I need for sustenance. They should so make sure that we're even more involved and working even harder. There should be no time at all for service at Kodesh Baruch Hu. And you become completely enamored, and you fall in love with the joy and the pleasures. The Amritz Oschol Kane Basorim Umistayfim Svivam, and you're then going to be working very, very hard to look at these officers and to try to hang around them, to try to ingratiate yourself to wealthy people, to very powerful people. You want to be similar to them, right? Who do we have? Who do we idolize? The actors and the stars and the sports figures. That's who everyone's running around trying to imitate. To follow them. I mentioned here one of these shurim that ninth grade kid who actually believed that the happiest man in the world is what's his name? Singer. I can't believe I get what. Whatever. Anyway, okay. You guys. Justin Bieber. Right. Justin Bieber. Right. So he's the happiest guy in the world. Right. Cannot be anybody happier than him because after all, look what he's got. He's on top of the world. You don't know anything behind the scenes. You don't know anything going on in his private life. But that's what kids see. And that's what they get enamored with. If you can have a kid press a button, God forbid, to be just like him, they would press a button in a second. And how crazy is that? And if the Yatzer sees that even this, I can't get this guy to be, totally focused on his food, on his physicality. Well, no, the other way around. He says, if the Yatzer gets to see that you have fallen into his hands, this is in the other direction. If he sees that you've fallen into his hands, and you want that stuff, okay, so you'd love to have that Lamborghini, and you're working extra hard for that, whatever, you want to buy those jet skis you've been waiting to buy all these years. The Yatzer tells you, either way, no matter what you're involved with, you got way too many things on your plate to worry about learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. Havoras Hashem is not on the agenda now. Either way, you're running after physicality. So might as well just cave in. Either way, says might as well just do. Put on your belt, gird up yourself, and get your arms ready. And give yourself over with all of your energy to serve this world. So basically, once he's got you, just dragging you by the nose there, just taking you wherever he wants you to go, he's going to basically say, listen, you're already... The spirituality stuff, it's behind. You're not going to go back there. You're now becoming a person who's into physical stuff. You need to be, focused on making enough food and getting, whatever you want. So now might as well just dive in. Be completely immersed in it. Give yourself completely over to that idea. Okay? Literally eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we shall die. So as a result, we got to throw ourselves completely into this. Okay, so give yourself over completely to this world and to the people of this world who are involved and completely engaged in this world. If you hang around the fancy people, maybe you'll get a little bit of some crumbs along the way. So some wealthy guy might give you a ride in his Rolls Royce one day, or maybe you'll get to go to some mansion where for one day you can have actually live out some of your dreams or fantasies. So this is what you're thinking about. You're always thinking about this this aspect of just, feeding your stomach, so to speak. Don't be involved in any other thing but this. This is your singular goal. Only be involved in that which is going to accomplish your goal of more intake of this world. And only those things that will find you favor in the eyes of these physical people, only that should you do. And it'll be pleasant for those people of that ilk. Now, so this guy's in a lot of trouble. Okay, he's really pretty much trapped. The Altasik, and the Yatzer continues. The Altasik es machshosecha bi'af chachla. Don't you dare start, looking in that sefer. Don't you start doing some mitzvos. Rak b'chachmo sheteskabe behen be'enei b'nei darcha. Only involve yourself in things that will get you have you find favor in the eyes of the people you really like. So read Variety, magazine, or read the People or National Enquirer or whatever. Read the stuff that will get you into all the gossip. That when people want to talk about all these crazy things, you'll be really up on that stuff. You'll really know all of the craziness of things that really don't matter. You'll be able to rub elbows with the hotshots of all these. And there are people like that, right? There are people who become famous, but they have never done anything other than hang around famous people that people know about them. There are people who just, you wonder, like, why is everyone always talking about these people? Like, who are they? But they always seem to be in the headlines of all the newspapers and all the decadence that's going on out there. Okay, You'll be able to somehow, find favor in the eyes of all these big shots out there. People who know different languages, Nisuach Hadibur, proper articulation, people who may be big in grammar, Pythonis, people who are able to write nice poetry, Chidos Nos, and stories, Mishalman, Ma'anyanim, Malitos Nadiros, all the types of beautiful fables and parables. You'll sit with people who sound very fancy, royalty, in a physical sense. And you'll be an expert in all of the goings on of the mishigas, the crazy materialistic things of the day. You will be able to whether it be this music or that music, those movies, this whatever it is that you're going to come up and meet people about. You'll be well versed, so you will be an absolute bucky in every irrelevant subject under the sun. The one thing you won't know is Torah and mitzvos. But look at that. But you'll be, if you meet Eddie Murphy in a coffee bean, you'll know what to speak of, because you'll know his last movie. You know how much he grossed for it, right? You know who his co-stars were, and that will, So if your mind is focused on all this mishagas, and there are people like that. There are people who just, that's what they're involved with. They're just complete experts in all this craziness.
It's like a complete 180 of what really go on for our lives. But what he's trying to point out here is that there is such a taiva.
Oh, for sure.
From,
yes, that's right. Okay, you'll have what to say. You won't have to sit there like a fool, not knowing what to, how to converse amongst these people. And you leave all of the other wisdoms that require a lot of work. But what's it going to bring you? Half a shas. What's that going to get you? This stuff will get you. Come on, what do you mean? Who knows? Eddie Murphy will invite you to his house. Then that will be the ultimate simcha. Aval imiyad. So the point is what he's drawn here and what he's painted, a really incredible picture of what happens when you start giving into the allure. The Yatzer is very good at drawing you in and getting you into that position where there's all that counts. And therefore you've got to, and what he's saying to us is that very initial argument where the Yatzer has said, you got to make sure you have enough food, and therefore keep working for the food, keep working, and don't let up. That is what got you into this trap, where before you know it, you're just completely swamped in a world of physicality and materialism. Aval im miyad bascholo otiten latavos hayetzer says regelecha. But if at the very beginning, if you didn't give that Yatzer any chance to walk into your life and create that dent, and that's tough because we do have needs of physical needs, and we do have responsibilities. But you have to make sure not to fall into the trap of going too far. So you got to nip that Yatzer in the bud right away. And not to fall into that trap of his request to conduct yourself in a way where you want to run after extras and luxuries and all these fancy things. The time aloi. Okay, and you got to say right away to the Yatzer, Ki ein l'cha tzarech v'masaros. I don't want extras. I don't need anything. V'chidai l'cha b'tirdoi sheishecha b'shvil hasogas b'zonosecha hachrechim. He says, isn't it enough for me to just focus on that which I absolutely need? And if God gives you the food without additional work, without a unique, specific, extra focus, then use that time for your goals in Torah, for your goals in spirituality. And let's say God doesn't give you that extra. So if you have the extra that comes naturally, Baruch Hashem. See, Hashem gave it to you. But don't do that extra work for it, because that's going to start dragging you in. And if He doesn't give it to you, accept what you have, the basics, accept that, you know what, this is what my lot is. I don't have more. Okay, I don't have more. I don't need more. If you speak back to the Yatzer at the beginning of this seduction, at the beginning of this allure, as tishbar the tavis isai, you will then break the Yatzer and smash it. It will have no room left. If I'm not going after physicality, it's not important to me. You're fine. But if you start falling into that trap, you're going to be in trouble. But if you listen to the Yatzer to start desiring extras, God forbid, you'll keep going downwards and downwards, from one level to the other, till God forbid we will end up being lost in both worlds. So we have to stay strong. I think I mentioned, when I mentioned this, but I don't know if anybody had a chance to go to the Hesped for Steinman in the city last Monday night. So just wild, amazing stories about this man. Literally, he was a man out of this generation. It's mind-boggling. But just to give you an idea of how a person could be living in this world in our time and totally eschew the physicalities of this world. Rav Donner spoke from England. He spoke amazingly, and he said that Rav Steinman was on a plane with this guy, I think Tzvi Glick, Dovi Glick, a very wealthy guy, multi-millionaire, who arranges a lot of these trips of the Gedolim to different places and Bechazik, different cities. I think that they were going to Paris on a flight, and this Mr. Glick was in a great mood, and he was just very, very, felt very close to Rav Steinman, the Rav Shiva, and he says, Rebbe, I'm so makatov takadosh baruch Hu, Hashem has blessed me. I have you on my plane. It was his private jet that they were flying in. You're on my plane, and we're going to do a mitzvah. I feel just anything. Ask me for anything. I will give you whatever you want. But please ask me for anything you want. What would make you happy? What can I do for you? And any of us, marry off the children, the grandchildren, I guess, take care of Valley Torah's budget for the next 10 years or, whatever, something, so, you think, here's a man, and listen, he could have had anything, but just to show you where his mind is, he says, anything? Rebbe, anything. Just really ask me. I have my checkbook right here. I'm ready to go. He says, I really don't daven that well on a plane. Could we land to daven mincha? I could daven on the ground, and then we could take off again. That's really would make me happy. And that's what they did. He landed the plane and he davened mincha. It's like, it just, when you're in that kind of a mindset, that's what matters. The opportunity in front of you to get closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu, if I can daven a little bit of a better mincha, that's what they did. Okay, we'll pick it up next time.